Thank you for watching this Last Mile Profits video.
What is Amazon Haul and can it challenge the Chinese e-tailers? Keep watching to find out more.
Experience the future of convenience with modern Expo parcel lockers. Cutting-edge innovations that bring parcel delivery to a fundamentally new level. Follow the link in the description to find the best solution for your business.
Gary, if I asked you what Amazon Haul is, would you know?
Well, I wouldn't have known 3 days ago, but there's been a recent press announcement from Amazon about copying the Temu, Shein kind of cheap stuff import model.
Yeah, so I haven't read too much about it yet, but if I'm not mistaken, the plan is that everything costs under $20, and most items should be $10 or less. And Gary, I understand the way they do it is they cut out the middleman, they source direct from the factory. Seems pretty cool, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a new idea. If in the early days of the internet, I mean, if you remember, the UK followers of us might remember CD Wow, who were based on Guernsey. I'm looking at a shelf with many CDs on there, mainly because of CD Wow, because they played the customs game by going under the de minimis for importing stuff into the UK without paying VAT. So you add the lack of VAT into cheap delivery rates, getting into the sub 250 gram raw mail, final mile price. And I think we noted in one of the last calls that Yodel have just done a deal with one of these Chinese players for 50 million parcels in the coming year at very, very low rates. You put the two things together and you can offer a consumer very, very low price goods with free delivery. And it's a beguilingly attractive offer, I guess.
And I think, Gary, the reason why it's of interest for Last Mile Profits, because some might say, hold on a minute, this is an e-commerce play. It's nothing to do with Last Mile. But I think what is interesting is that Amazon now has quite a significant capability in the last mile, particularly in North America and in some European markets. So this is where it's going to be interesting because Temu, who are the player, I think, that really created this segment, don't have that. They work with third parties.
Yeah.
Is that going to give, in your opinion, Amazon an advantage?
Well, I think this whole area is quite fascinating because I think many of the carriers are getting kind of hooked on this stuff. There are huge volumes coming in. I think it is one of these players is about to float on the London stock market, and they're talking about a valuation of somewhere. I can't remember if it's £15 billion or £25 billion. It's like the biggest UK float for about 7 years. There are huge organisations now, and so the carriers are getting hooked on the volume. The customers are getting hooked on the product. So Amazon are clearly going to want to muscle in. They're not innovating in this occasion. They're following. So I think this is of massive importance. And I can't say I'm a fan. I think partly because the effect on last mile is going to be downward pressure on price. If you're buying very cheap goods, we've talked about this before. If you buy something for £100, you don't blink if the delivery is £3.95. You buy something for £3.95, you're not going to pay £3.95 for delivery. So it's putting a huge amount of pressure on everybody involved in the last mile to push prices down to satisfy this, seems to be insatiable demand for what is effectively very, very cheap imported goods of low value from distant shores. And you're right to mention sustainability right at the top there.
Yeah, and this is actually a good point because with items at that low cost, what is the risk that an awful lot of them are going to end up in someone's dustbin?
Well, have you ever tried to return one of these things? I know people, my parents, for example, have been tempted to buy things on Facebook Marketplace and very, very well photographed of attractive objects, and they've been really quite excited. And when it turns up, it's about 1/10 of the size that it appeared to be, or there's bits missing, or it's damaged in transit. When you look up the company that shipped it, it's a terraced house in Leicester with 52 companies registered at it. You're dragging yourself into an area which is quite difficult to give good customer experience.
And actually, Gary, I have had that experience because I've bought stuff on the Chinese sites and the item, exactly as you said, looks pretty good, very cheap. You get the thing and it's either broken or doesn't quite fit. I actually bought car parts, and if a car part doesn't fit, you're in trouble. And then you find that, well, in this case, internationally, the cost of sending back to China is something like 10 times the value of the item that you bought, forgetting all the issues with customs clearance and so on. So I think it's a really, really big issue.
No, I think so too. And it's the type of cross-border trade that doesn't benefit UK PLC, in my opinion. We should be encouraging home manufacturing, quality manufacturing, things that last for a long time. And again, we talk all the time about this social commerce trend of people repurposing and reselling stuff. That's where all this is going to end up. It's going to be going round and round and round. So you could argue for the carriers, it's great, it's new volume. You might shift it 2-3 times in its lifetime. But ultimately, for the planet, I don't think this is a good thing.
Well, I think we're in agreement. The one thing that perhaps, and we need to see how it plays out, but could be interesting is in Amazon's case, because they do have their own last mile, middle mile, first mile, etc. And because of the customer experience that they seek to offer, maybe returns will be easier if something isn't quite as you'd expect. So, let's watch this space. I think it's interesting. And this is the first example that I've seen where Amazon has really, really gone for a direct, shall we say, challenge to the low-cost Chinese sites.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it works out. I mean, Amazon are a brilliant company. I mean, you worked for them for a long time. You know how excellent they can be when they put their mind to something, but they don't always succeed. So it's very normal to buy clothing in the US from Amazon. It's very unusual to buy clothing from Amazon in the UK. There are some segments where they do really, really well and tap into their massive customer base and the zeitgeist around it, and other times it just doesn't work. So we'll have to see how this one plays out.
Well, look, I think this is a really interesting one. Let's return to it once we've got some more information. And as usual, please, if you've liked this video, then please like, subscribe. Helps us keep these videos free for you. Gary, I think this has been quite an interesting one. Thanks very much for being on the show today.
Thanks for watching this Last Mile Profits video. For more up-to-date last mile news and analysis, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on LinkedIn.